Todd, Michael, and Don, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, guys?
Well, good. Now, the circle of trust starts now because, you'll be on with us every week during the season, so we're your guys.
That works for me.
We are your guys. So how you feeling today? I mean, I'm thinking as I'm watching you on the TV, I said, wow, this must be a really proud day for this guy. I mean, you work for something and you get it in the state in which you were born. What were you thinking?
It's a great feeling going forward. It's like a dream come true for me again. Coming here in 2000, then coming back 15 years later as the head coach of the New York Jets, a place where I grew up 30 minutes south of here. It's an unbelievable feeling.
During the course of the process, when did you really feel like you had an excellent chance to be the head coach of the Jets?
I felt I had a good first interview, but you never know because the GM wasn't in place at the time. And I thought everything went good, and I felt good about it. But for me, it was all about chemistry. So meeting Mike and getting to know him and understand his philosophy and the direction he wanted to go along with Woody, after the second interview, I felt pretty good about it.
Todd, I'm always curious because we don't have the ability to be in that room. The first interview where Wolf is there and Casserly and Woody, what are some of the things they ask you? I mean, do they ask you about specific philosophy? Are they just trying to find out what type of person you are? What are the questions they're throwing at you?
All of the above, specific philosophy and who you learned from and how do you see the team and what do you see going forward and who would you hire and just see if you're an engaging person or can you lead or are you just a follower? Do you speak on your own or, just things just in the normal interview process. Certainly a little bit about scheme, but it's not all scheme. It's mostly about whether you can lead a football team and whether you are honest and sincere in what they're looking for.
Let's talk about scheme and style. I'm sure you've developed that over the years in all the different places you've been. So as you take over the Jets, is it you instituting your style, or are you looking over the roster and saying, I need to maybe make changes based on the talent that we have here?
We're going to implement our schemes either way, and then as you get to the roster, you kind of tweak things according to who you have and who you don't have once you get to the game plan.
All right, for those that don't know you, what type of defense do you run?
We run a 3-4. It's kind of a hybrid. We run a 3-4, but we run a little bit of a 4-3. It's multiple. They've seen some things over the past few years from Rex, which we do some things in common, and then we'll add some things as we go.
So the talent that they have on that defense now that has played Rex's system, that kind of fits into what you do, and like Rex, you also need pretty good corners.
Well, I think everybody needs pretty good corners. That's a league-wide institution. But, we do some things alike and we do some things that'll be different. The terminology for certainly will be different, but we'll get it together. And as we get to watch film and get to know our players, we'll get a good feel of what they can and can't do.
How much do you know of this defense and know of the players in the short time you've been here so far?
Not too much other than seeing ESPN highlights because we're in a different division when I was in Arizona, that you hear about certain guys and you understand the highlights that Muhammad makes and you know who the first-round picks are from that standpoint, but you don't get to see the growth or understand what they were trying to do and how you see them now. So we got to get going on film so we can get a better feel.
Now, Todd, Jet fans were a little bit concerned that after Rex, let's not hire another defensive guy who doesn't pay any attention to the offense. And they went out and they hired a guy who was the assistant coach of the year with the Cardinals as a defensive coordinator. What can you say to Jet fans that could allay their fears that it's not only going to be about defense with you?
No, it isn't. We're going to play complementary football, and, I understand the offense. I'm not saying I'm an offensive coordinator, but I understand what it takes to win ball games and how to tie all three teams together, being special teams, offense, and defense. So, you have an offensive coach that you rely on, and you want to have your imprint over there and make decisions over there when it's necessary. But we're going to play good football, and we're going to get the best out of our offense, and we're going to win some ball games.
Now, you said you don't have an intimate knowledge of the roster, and you're going to work, obviously, with your new general manager on some of the players that you're going to look to go out and get. But just from what limited knowledge you do know, what direction do you think this offense can go into? Do you think you have a quarterback right now in Geno Smith that can maybe help you win games this year?
I could answer that after I saw the film, but I haven't watched any film yet. This is really only being my second day on the job. I'll sit down, knowledge of Geno because he's a first-round pick and from West Virginia and those type of things. But schematically, I don't know what they were doing to make him successful or unsuccessful, and I haven't sat down with the player yet. I think it'll be a process of watching the film, then sitting down with him, understanding what he can and can't do, then going out in OTAs and minicamp, then obviously preseason games, and work our way towards the season to see what he can and can't do and if he's that guy.
You know, Todd, you used the word complementary offense, and you just used it with us and during the press conference as well. But you look around the sport now, it's so offensively driven. It seems like guys that, you know, are defensive-minded, they want to run the ball and not make mistakes. But, I mean, can you win in this league without throwing the ball around?
Well, if you look at Seattle, who's the Super Bowl champions, and you look at the Super Bowl teams, at least 7 out of 10 years, they're all defensive coaches.
Right.
I mean, all the teams with the 2 teams in the Super Bowl now, the Patriots with Belichick and the Seahawks with Carroll. And you had Dungy and Tomlin and Cowher, and you can go on, but 7 out of every 10 years, the Super Bowl champions are pretty much defensive coaches, you know, for some reason or another. So I don't have a problem understanding the offense and not throwing it around a lot. If you have that type of team, yes, you can throw it around a lot, but most of the Super Bowl were defensive coaches, so they know I got that going for me as well as the rest of the coaches. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing hiring a defensive coach as long as he understands offensive football.
Mm-hmm. Todd, what do you like about Chan Gailey?
You know, Chan has a wealth of experience. He's worked with many different quarterbacks and made these guys successful, from Cordell Stewart to Ryan Fitzpatrick and everywhere in between. You know, he runs the ball very well. He understands the conference because he was in it. He has a great knowledge of the passing game. He works with younger and older quarterbacks just the same, and he's the perfect complement for what I think we need to do on offense and be balanced, as well as play complementary football.